Beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
All
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
We really want it. Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
Hello, Boring Review Nation! Gabe!
Before I say go for it, we always take turns. You go. Before I even said it, he just went ahead and went
I didn't
for
want
it.
to risk it. I didn't want to risk it that you got it out before I did.
What do they used to say? Risk the biscuit? Risk it the biscuit? I have no idea. Nick here, and we are looking at episode 3 for Mirzapur. That's right. We have not given up after the first two episodes. We are still watching the show. We're loving the show, and we're still reviewing it episode by episode. If you haven't seen yet, we have episodes 1 and 2 already on the channel. Check out those reviews for those episodes. And here we go, episode 3. What are your thoughts?
Right off the bat, I feel vindicated.
You feel vindicated.
I feel vindicated.
I should feel vindicated. I was
Yes.
totally right.
You were right.
Starts off 20 years earlier, and we see the story. I want to get this guy's name correct. Radhi Shankar. He is working with the Tripathi family, and he feels like he's next in line. And then when he's not next in line, and the Tripathis officially take over from the other crime lords that are in Mirzapur, and the father, who's now the grandfather, the old man now, 20 years earlier, he was running the mob group. He announces how his son and how his son's son's going to be the next in line.
Right.
And Roddy could not handle it. And so we watched later on in the episode what happens, but I was right because episode 2, it was him that put the hit on Muna.
I tell you what.
Finally, I'm right about something.
He is.
Him and Jody are just dropping these things of knowledge or these predictions that are amazing, and I'm just like, what? I gotta know something.
I will tell you this, though. The grandfather, man, he is ruthless. Now that we see him in the past, now you understand why when he made that comment when how do I pronounce it? His name.
You can just call him Mr. Tripathi or Kayleen.
Kayleen. When Kayleen says, what do I do with my son? He was just ruthless and said, have another son. This guy is absolutely ruthless as an old gangster. And it's funny because you saw them when they first attacked, they're at like a play. It's a live performance. And they attack him at a play. And he's like, you guys attacked from we're talking about the other family. You guys attacked us in broad daylight, or it was at night.
Up, man. Yeah.
With our families, you crossed the line, so then you can see how they went and crossed the line.
When they got him.
When they got him. And I just think that, that it goes back to that there's honor amongst thieves, but when you live that life, again, you're putting your family in danger, and you know that. But you see where Mr. Tripathi got his tutelage from his dad, who was also ruthless. And the only thing I don't like about it is you have to know once, and I get it, they felt some kind of loyalty to Ruffy, but you've created an enemy, man, an enemy for life. I understand they scarred him and said, you can walk around. I'm not letting you live at that point. I'm not letting you walk away.
That was weird. And he even says, the old man, and we're going to call him the grandfather.
Later on says, yes.
Yeah, he says, I made mistakes and I handled things incorrectly and wrongly. But I mean, yeah, why would you let this guy live? I mean, when it's Kayleen's brother, right?
Right.
Brother gets injured. Roddy shows up to pay his respects, and he actually goes after all these guys. He gets thwarted. He ends up killing the brother in the act, if I remember correctly. And the fact that he came in and he attacked when he was part of them, he betrayed them and attacked, and they still let him survive. I understand it's a show, but I'm with you. I'm like, why would he do it? These guys are ruthless. Why would you make this mistake? And I think you see that with the son, Kayleen, because when he had the one guy shoot both his hands off, he told the guy, take him to the hospital, bad for business. He understands that you need to be ruthless, you need to be feared.
Right.
But he even makes that comment too. in this episode, right, where
right.
he's like, we can't just be feared, we gotta be respected, because fear only lasts so long.
Fear only lasts so long.
So he learned from his father's mistakes. But I'm with you. Like, why do you let Roddy survive? I feel like that was a flaw in the show, just to raise the stakes and just to create that enemy later on.
Right.
And Roddy, he's obsessed with owning Mirzapur.
Right.
He was able to control the other town. I forget the name of it right now. Right. But he wants Mirzapur. He feels like it's his.
I think it was Junipar the other time. It was Junipar. But and it was funny. Not to cut you off. Roddy's own son tells him, like, look, you're already the king of Junipar. Forget about Mirzapur. But he's like, no, I want Mirzapur. And when they give you this backstory, you understand why. Then his son, for whatever reason, even though his son is like, I don't want to be a part of this, I'm going away to school.
He's a genius, right?
The guy's super smart. He's like, well, get him on neutral ground. Don't, hunt them in his
he's like, wait, let me tell you how it is.
Let me school you on this. Right? And they set him up, and that was a super cool scene, though, because then you realize, or he realized, like he said, right after that, he said, fear only lasts so long. Well, he goes into this town because he's making a gun deal, and when he gets there, oh man, everybody that's there, like the little locals, they paid him off and they try to assassinate him. Now, his number two man, or his right hand man, what's the tall guy that had the machine gun? Oh, Makpool's the man, dude, because he was about to get bodied right there. And Makpool was sharp. He saw the person pull out the gun and forget about it. He started putting people down.
And that was crazy because they had, like you were saying, they had everyone involved. They had the women, they had the men. I mean, those guys are sitting there singing, washing with the bucket, and then they pull out the guns or whatever. Just to go back a little bit, because I put this in my notes and I forgot to mention it. How about that scene? And it was a war against the Thakurs and the Tripathis. How about when the Tripathis got revenge on the Thakurs, and the Thakurs' daughter is sticking her head out the window, and you see that? That is an amazing visual effects shot. That is an amazing makeup shot. I'm talking about production-wise. I had to rewind it a few times, not because I wanted to see the gore, but I wanted to see, because it happened so quickly. I mean, even the actress herself, she just goes dead right away, and then you see the flesh go on the car and stuff. It reminded me of Tremors, that movie when they blow up the worms and all that flesh, that orange colored flesh.
Right.
I just had to mention that because that was an amazing scene, not just because of the violence, but because of how well they were able to carry that out.
It was a great visual scene, but what happened after, to me, was such a powerful moment where they get the car and they get everyone that they've just killed and bring them into town, and that's when Grandpa is up there with both his sons and his grandson, and he's saying, well, now we run Mirzapur, because he sees the car. Everybody's still there with brain matter all over the place, killed in the car. These guys are absolutely psychopaths, man. Wow, that was ruthless.
And how do you guarantee that the people in the audience listening aren't part of that crew, or they don't want to take over Mirzapur themselves, that they're going to bust out their guns and shoot? I mean, they're just on the stage like this is our town now.
I think that's the point. Anyone out there who has any thoughts, who wants to get cute, look what just happened to these dudes, all right? So, oh man, that was so ruthless.
Yeah, it was really cool how they showed time pass between then and the present. They did kind of this thing where I believe it was like a building where all the time had changed really quickly, and there was posters, and it was
and now they got statues of them there.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. That's right. The statues popped up. I thought that was really cool. That was an interesting way, an artistic way to show time.
Now, following our other storyline, right? We follow again. I'm gonna call him Fredo. Whenever there's a screw up in the group, they're Fredo, and that's in a. For those of you who have never seen The Godfather, that's a reference to The Godfather, right? So for now, we're going to call the son Fredo.
Muda?
Muda. We're going to call him Fredo. But I tell you what, he did redeem himself after the assassination attack. But this guy is still like, he disappears. He's doing drugs. They try to kill you. There was an assassination attempt on you. And what do? You disappear to go get high with your friends.
He's glutton for punishment. He still wants to be with Sweetie. And then we follow Tripathi again. And he goes and he meets this guy named J.P. Yadav. And this guy, he's like the minister or something like that. This guy, he's very, very full of himself, and he knows that he's an important person. And he's basically threatening Tripathi, which is interesting to see because Tripathi is the muscle in the town, but this guy is the power. And he's basically telling him, you're going to do what I want, or we're going to take away the business. And we start to see that the Tripathi, that Kalen's business may be, in trouble.
Right.
And he's got to be wondering, how can I leave Muna in charge once I'm gone, especially since the business itself is starting to fail. Right. This guy's, like you say, he's getting high or whatever. He's goofing around. He's not taking things seriously. But that one guy, he was really starting to annoy me. So when we saw Roddy Shakhar's story and how he wants to take Mirzapur back, deep inside, I was kind of rooting for him. Like, this guy's kind of cool. Right. And then when I see how Yadav treats Tripathi, I'm like, no, I'm rooting for Tripathi now. And that's what I love about this show, is because a lot of these characters I actually am invested in. I actually care about. That Yadav guy really annoyed me. Right. He was so smug, especially like the whole posters, like 20,000 prints, and he's like, how come you're as big as the minister, or you're as big as this guy? And, reprint it, and Tripathi, you're going to take care of the bill, right? Oh, yeah, sure.
And then he's like, when they ask him to reprint him, he's like, make sure I'm the same size as the minister.
Yes.
I like that character. Let me tell you why.
You would, because you like the villains, but I can't stand him. He drove me nuts.
But here's as big as Tripathi is, he's still a minion, okay? What I mean by that is, if you're a street-level gangster, which he is, he's still running around the street with guns or whatever, and he says that to his son at one point, but he's still running around the street, handling stuff on the day-to-day. You're really not up there. I forgot what movie it was. It might have been, I think it might have been, not about Hoffa, the Netflix one,
Irishman.
The Irishman, where they're talking about, like, listen, as big as gangsters are and the mafia is here in the United States, politicians are the biggest gangsters, because they're the ones that dole out the contracts. They're the ones that really run everything from sanitation, all these other enterprises that these mobsters built their crime families around. So realistically, they're getting the kickbacks. They don't do any work, and if you don't pay me, I'll just get somebody else to do it. Really simple. He's the puppet master. He's the guy pulling the strings. So I know that it's going to be like, well, how do you like that guy? He's a gangster. He just sat in front of a gangster and told him, listen, you either come up with the money or you can be replaced. You know what I mean? How much heart do you have to have?
I'm all about respect. That was no respect. I also like the other guy. He meets Lala, where he's trying to get the silk brought in at a bigger volume so they can sell more and make some more money.
Right.
And Lala, they have a friendship, and so he was way more respectful. He's like, well, this is going to be the terms, but, I'll help you out or whatever.
Now, whoa. Did Lala set him up, though? Because right after that's when he ended up getting an ambush. Remember, he was on neutral turf. So how did they know he was going to be meeting with Lala? Somebody sold him out. Somebody. And I remember when...
wasn't the Lala meeting afterwards?
No, Lala meeting was before that. Because it was after the Lala meeting, if I'm remembering correctly, that's when he... Remember, the sensei, you got to get him on neutral
I don't
ground.
think he set him up, because then eventually he meets with the son to finish the deal or whatever. And you think it would have been... Because remember, when they both get up, they both have their men with them, right? They have that mutual respect, and they kind of laugh at it, like, I'm not going to trust you.
Yeah, that was a good...
I can see it more as Ratty kind of, or Ratay, or Ty, whatever you say his name, just having to tell him. That's an interesting theory, though. We'll see if that one pans out for you. But I like Lala, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. He also had an awesome beard, too.
We got to talk about the wife. How are we not going to talk about the wife right now?
We'll get to her in a second, but there was one line in here, and I can't... Maybe you can tell me who said the line, but he said, the worst thing in life is a father. I'm no father. Who said that? I can't remember, but I remember that line. I wrote it down, and next to it I put weasel, like as in, how can you say that kind of line? But it's interesting, because if you think about what is he saying, worst thing in life is a father. You're going to go by emotions. You're going to make decisions in the family by... Oh, I think it was Roddy Sharkar that said that, because he's mad that he let his son take over, right?
It was Roddy that said that. I was thinking about it myself right now. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's a great line, because it's true. You're going to go by your heart more than by your business sense. And so I just thought, I thought that was awesome. And then, so let's get to Bina. Let's get to the wife. So she likes herself some, personal time.
Listen, and to interject a little bit of my personal experience over here, this is real, people. Why? Because I drive around some of the most affluent people you could think of. I've had some, as my job as a limo driver, my part-time job as a limo driver here in Las Vegas, I've seen from all the famous celebrities you can think of, some oil tycoons, people, and it's true what you say. The richest people don't look like they're rich. They're walking around in a normal suit. They don't got the $3,000 suit on. They got the sports jacket, a polo shirt, maybe some jeans, some Dockers. They need to show that they have money. But these old dudes that walk around with these trophy wives that are 20, 30 years younger than them, what do you expect? Okay, listen. if you're not fulfilling those needs, they're gonna get that itch scratch somewhere
And in today's
else.
day and age, as these men get older, things start to break down.
Exactly. Listen, my back hurts from time to time. I'm like, I need a nap. You know what I'm saying? I'm old, and I'm only 40. What's Chapathi has to be in his 50s, if not pushing
Late 40s, early 50s at least.
You know, and this girl's probably early 20s. She's no older than his son.
Maybe late 20s.
You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where you knew it almost from episode 1. The way she talks to him, like she's cheating on him. I'm intrigued to see who it is. Because if it's the son, then the son needs to get bodied, okay? Bury him. How do you turn on your father when you're the biggest
that's an
scumbag?
easy answer right there, man. For a woman, come on.
No.
And not just for a woman, but for an act.
Because he could have anyone in that town. Well, anyone other than the police guy's daughter. What's her name? Sweetie?
Sweetie, yeah.
But why? Why? And you see her making those snide comments to the son. And I hope that's not the case.
That was an interesting way to end it. But not just that, but pretty sure she does it in her own bed with her husband's bed. I mean, whoever it is has got some serious guts not to have this guy walk in and be like, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
You're both done.
I
can't see him forgiving her for that. I can't see whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. But, I think it's one of those things where these guys feel like they have to have these trophy wives. It's like a status symbol, you know what I mean? And when you really think about it, like, we see sometimes driving them around and we're like, man, dude, she looks like she could be a granddaughter. Like, honestly, dude, I've seen dudes like 80 years old with like some model chicks that are barely 21. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Seriously? I don't know why they do it.
The last thing I put in my notes is I think her main motivation is I think she wants a baby. And she's going to have a baby one way or another. I really do.
Okay, think about that. If she does want a baby one way or another, and she gets pregnant, he knows he can't give her a kid anymore. He's trying to give her a kid, he can't. So what do you think's gonna happen if you get pregnant?
How does he know that? Because they're still having relations.
But he's trying, and all this time he hasn't been able to have one. Again, I mean,
it's happened before.
Immaculate conception. Come on now.
It's happened before with English kings or whatever. They'd have different wives to try to get pregnant, and how do they know? Especially back then, how do they know that it's their kid, not someone else's kid?
I guess.
I think she just wants to be able to have that place in the family once she gets a little older and she's afraid that he's going to replace her maybe. She wants to have a baby so that her kin is part of that way. Because she probably sees Muna as, this guy's going to get himself killed pretty soon.
Right. She wants to solidify that position.
And so that's the way I look at it, but we have no idea. Those are our thoughts for episode 3. Again, we are loving this show.
Great episode.
I'm actually surprised with some of the comments where some people were like, it's a good show, but it's not great. Because I'm absolutely loving it. There has been some things that I have grown to love as I'm watching an Indian film or even an American film or a TV series. But sometimes it's like, it's tough to get to the episodes. It's drawing long. For me, these episodes are going so quick. I can't wait to watch the next one. I do stop because I want us to be able to review each one before we go to the next one. But I'm absolutely loving them.
You and me both. I think that, again, it's almost like The Sopranos, you know what I mean? Where they give you this guy who's a mob boss, but then when you watch The Sopranos, you realize Tony had people above him, and he's walking on thin ice, keeping his business together and his family together. And it's the same thing for Chapathi here. He's, supposed to be the king of Mirzapur, but he's got this politician talking down on him. His business is losing money. Guns are blowing up on on people. His wife is now cheating on him. So no matter how much of a king he is, you know what I mean? He still has those problems, and you realize that life happens regardless who you are, how much money you have, how much power you have. And I think it goes back to what he said earlier in the episode. They don't love me, they fear me. And the problem with fear is eventually fear runs out. Her fear, you're right, her fear ran out because she's doing it in his house, in his bed. She's not afraid of him, you know what I mean? If she was, she wouldn't even think about doing that. So I think that was a big message in the show, you know what I mean? But those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't mention much about the two sons, Gudu and Babalu, but they're becoming arms dealers basically, and it's interesting because their choice for survival to join this crew is potentially going to end lots of lives. So their choice of survival. This is why I still respect their father, the lawyer, more for him to do things right and not think about survival. We're going to see how that plays out. I'm going to end this with a great line that Macpool had where he's going to them with the factory. He said, we had some guys that messed some things up and we had some explosions or whatever, but thank goodness the factory was okay. And that dude's ruthless.
You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, you know, I think they went out to smoke cigarettes or something. Which, how smart are you? You're dealing with like explosives and, you know, gunpowder and stuff and guns, and they're making bullets right there. That was also a very interesting thing where they're making their own bullets as well.
And they're you know, bringing it in.
Right. It shows you the actual business in a sense, and these street guns that they're making. But to them, all the people that died didn't matter. Thank goodness the factory's okay. That was a cool line. You're right. McPool's my man. I love him.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for all the love and all the support. We appreciate that. And we got another one coming, episode 4 coming soon. Watch out for that. Until next time.
We know all things.